There's a lot that we don't talk about, sometimes due to embarrassment, fear, insecurities. We neglect discussions about the most common parts of our lives, things we all deal with, sometimes every day. But on the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast, together, we'll break all of those taboos and talk open and honest about shared experiences. Knowledgeable people relating things you felt but never put into words. Parenting, sex, fitness, energy, anything to connect you to your authentic self, unfiltered. Now, the Caffeinated Gypsy herself, a free spirit, world traveler with a passion for fitness and exploring topics that others might avoid. Welcome to the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast. I'm Stephanie Cotton, your host. Thank y'all for being with me today. Today, I'm going to be talking about not waiting until you make those moves in life. And this is something that's actually really served me well in life. It's probably about giving my husband a heart attack on multiple occasions. But for me personally, I am like a go-getter. I rarely wait until everything is lined up to do things in life, and it's really served me. Doesn't mean I haven't had some bumpy roads, but it's really helped me in life. So I want to talk about that, especially since I know a lot of you listening are entrepreneurs or interested in being entrepreneurs. I think it's important to understand that you can't always wait for everything to be perfect. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you can head over to iTunes and subscribe and give me a rating, or if you're on any of my other platforms like Spotify or Stitcher, Google Play, anything else of mine that you're on, if you can give me a rating, that really, really helps. It increases my presence on those platforms, and I really appreciate it. And oh yes, I have a class coming up. It's an online workshop for the root chakra. It's called Awaken Your Root, and this is a 3-part class. So 3 different classes in one. We're breaking down the root chakra and how you can awaken your root chakra or balance your root chakra. We're going to be talking about the astrology aspect of your root chakra. We're going to be talking about crystals. We're going to be talking about essential oils, how your root chakra specifically is involved in manifestation in your life. Your root chakra is the chakra that really helps you with money and your self-belief. It also is what creates boundaries in our life. It's the core piece to our relationships, feeling rooted and grounded in life. So we're going to talk about all of those aspects and then how you can start to open that chakra up or align that chakra so you can start to see some really big benefits in your life. This class is great for anybody, but especially those who are working through trauma or those who are working with other people that have experienced trauma. My class is very heavily based in psychology since that's my background. So we're going to be talking about developmental cycles and how those are impaired with the root chakra being damaged. So lots and lots of information in that workshop. You can find it over at my website, stephanie-cotton.com. And if you go under classes, it's right there. And I have an early bird special that's running until February 9th. So if you want to get on that. All right, you guys. So let's talk a little bit about this, not waiting until everything is perfect. And so this is actually one of the things I work with people a lot on when I do life coaching. People tend to feel like they have to have all their ducks completely in a row before they make a big decision. And I see this in all aspects of life. People are like, I'm not happy in my relationship, but I don't want to leave because I don't have enough money, or I don't want to leave because I don't feel ready, or whatever. I want to start a business, but I don't have enough experience yet. I want to start a business, but I don't have enough contacts yet. And so people really wait. And I feel like a lot of this is procrastination because we just don't have enough self-confidence in ourselves. And a lot of that goes back to your root chakra and your sacral chakra. And a lot of that comes down to our conditioning, maybe how we were raised. And then some of that comes down to our astrological signs. So for those of us who have astrological signs, we're looking at, we all have astrological signs, but what I'm really saying is if you look at specifically your moon sign and your, sorry guys, I'm like not talking clearly today, your moon sign and your sun sign and even your rising sign, those three, if you look at the planets or the zodiacs that rule those three areas, a lot of times that'll give you a lot of information too as to why maybe you have a hard time making that leap. So for me personally, I'm an Aquarius, so we tend to be a little bit forward thinking, outside the box. And then my rising is a Sagittarius and my moon sign is a Sagittarius. So I am like full speed ahead. Let's do this. Anything outside the box, yes, let's go now. But I also have the planet Saturn, and I think you guys have probably, if you've listened to me, you've heard me talk about this before. I have the planet Saturn in my 10th house, which is my career house. So as far as my career goes, I am very, very careful about what I do. But I also I'm a pretty big risk taker because of some of my other signs. So I have no problem jumping out there. It does not mean that I'm not scared. It does not mean that I'm not internally freaking out. It just means that to the outside world, I'm like just going to go for it. And I do that in almost all aspects of my life. I have no problem to pick up and move. Change is something that I'm very comfortable with. It's not always enjoyable, but I'm comfortable with it. I'm actually at a point where I'm like, oh, nothing's changed. Something needs to change. Almost too comfortable with it, or I'm always looking for a change. But that's just an example of how your astrological signs can lead you in one direction or the other. My husband, on the flip side, is a Virgo, and he needs everything to be like completely lined up. He is a Leo moon, so that helps a little bit. He's got a little fiery energy in there, but which allows me to kind of drag him along sometimes. But the Virgo in him is just very like, no, we need to have structure. I don't know if I want to do this yet. So it takes him a long time sometimes to make leaps. Whereas I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. Like, we should have done this yesterday. And so I'm not saying by any means that planning is not a good thing. And I am a really big planner, actually. I'm just not very vocal about the plans because I'm very internal. So by the time I actually do something, to everybody else, it looks like I'm just like spontaneous. But I've actually thought a lot about it and I've kind of laid things out. But I don't always have all my ducks in a row. I have just enough ducks that I can see in front of me and I leap. And so when that happens, it doesn't mean that it's easy. And I want to preface that. It means that I've just done it. And what it means is that also opens up a lot of opportunities. And so if you sit back and you always wait for everything to line up, you may not have that happen. And sometimes we have to kind of just get out there. So especially as an entrepreneur, I feel like there's sort of two mindsets to this. There's those that are very, very like, I have to have everything lined up, and they plan for years and years and years and they never do it. And then you have like what I call the true entrepreneur who's like, fuck it, I've got just enough lined up, let's do this. And so to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit crazy. Ask any entrepreneur out there, you're a little bit crazy, you're a little bit not right, because being an entrepreneur is hard work. And you have to think outside the box. In order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to think outside the box. You have to be willing to take risks. So if you're not comfortable taking risks and being outside the box and being very outside your comfort zone, being an entrepreneur may not be for you. And so I want to encourage you in all aspects of your life, though, like, don't wait, because nothing in life waits for us, right? And I've seen so many people that wait for everything to line up, and then they really miss that opportunity, or their life passes them by. So if you want to do things in life, like, do them. You know, obviously, yes, I'm not saying like quit your job and go travel the world, unless you can actually do that, because if you can, high five, you're badass. But I am saying don't wait for everything to be perfect, right? Like, you have to look at things and go, okay, can I make this work? If you can make it work, do it. Obviously, you need to look at the risks, yes. I'm not saying to be irresponsible, but I'm saying don't don't overanalyze it to the point that you never do it. Don't allow yourself to be paralyzed by fear because you're waiting for everything to be perfect. Because most of the time we're doing that because we're making excuses up out of some sort of fear. I'm just drinking on my coffee, y'all. Anyways, so if you're especially an entrepreneur, I encourage you to get a plan in place. Give yourself a timeline. And I think that's a really big part too, is being like, okay, if you need to give yourself a year, give yourself a year. Save up money, make the connections, start networking, doing all those things. The other thing about entrepreneurs specifically is it's really important that you start making those right connections, meeting people, connecting with people. That way, when you go to take this leap, you have a support system. Having a support system in place for any type of big jump you're making is vital. If you don't have a support system in place, you're going to feel completely alone. Whether that is a move that's changing relationships, it's changing a job, it's being an entrepreneur, it's losing weight, it's having kids, whatever it is. It's so much easier to make those leaps when we have people backing us up. So I encourage you to really make sure you have a good support system in place. And if you don't have a good support system in place, start working on that. And if you have people around you that aren't supporting you in what you're doing, that's like a whole nother podcast we need to talk about, because you really need to have people in your corner. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Set yourself a timeline, work towards those goals, and then when it's time, take that jump. Put yourself out there. I promise you, you will not regret it. One of the scariest things I think I have done to date was starting my podcast. It's very vulnerable. It is intimidating as all get out. And if you go on and you start looking at other people's podcasts, if I allowed that stuff to get in my head, I wouldn't be doing this. I can tell you that right now. And I still have days where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I cannot believe I'm on here doing this. And I mean, if you guys haven't looked at my Instagram lately, I just did a post on my stories not that long ago about this. My setup, y'all, it is basic. I do have a really good software for my recording, which I think really helps, but I don't have a fancy booth. I don't even wear a headset. I have a mic that cost me $50 off of Amazon, and that was 4 years ago. I have my Mac, and my Mac is from 2000 and I don't know, 15. I mean, I don't have anything fancy. And there's times I've sat down to record with people and they're like, do you need help carrying your stuff? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, oh, that's it. Oh, it surprises people. And this is it. This is the reality. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a mom. I have another job. I'm homeschooling my kids. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I have a lot of excuses. I could have been I can't do this because I homeschool my kids, or I don't have the right equipment, or I don't have a cool enough setup. There's no fancy Instagram pictures of my podcast setup, right? When people come and interview, there's no cool, oh, look at Stephanie, her video of us doing this podcast. I'm not. But it is what it is. It's not going to stop me. Is it a little intimidating? A little bit. I'm not going to lie, a little bit. But I don't allow that to stop me, and I don't allow it to get so ingrained in my head. So, I say that so you don't compare yourself. That will fuck you up all day long. I actually stopped looking at other people's stuff that are other podcasters. I have a few people that I follow who I'm really good friends with. And those are the people that I follow, because if I looked at everybody else's setups and I looked at all the stuff they were doing, it would mess with my head so bad that I would probably just stop. And what does that serve, right? So don't look at other people's stuff and get intimidated or think you're not where you need to be to start. You just got to start. One foot in front of the other. That's all you got to do. You can do this. Make those leaps. Stop making excuses